Hi everyone, I hope you're doing super well. Today I'm going to tell you about a little design trick that I've been doing with my climbing plants. Let's get to it. So when you have climbing plants like Philodendron Burley Marks Fantasy here, you need to give it a climbing pole, like a moss pole here, to make it climb up and grow larger leaves. That's what they would do out in nature, and so if you want your plant to be super healthy, that's what you'll allow it to do, is give something to climb on it. But my issue with climbing poles is that I don't really like the way they look. I don't like the fact that you have to like tie up the vines around the pole just to continue having it go up, because it kind of looks, I don't know, bleh, if you were to say so. So what I did was recently I started taking some extra coco coir or any kind of mesh type of climbing fabric and putting it around the pole and the vines of the plant like I did here with my Philodendron patriciae. And I really like the way it looks, especially if this is going to be a statement plant that you're going to have stand out in your home. I just like the fact that it has a cleaner look to it. So I ended up buying some mesh, and that's what we're going to do now with my Philodendron Burley Marks Fantasy. But first, I totally forgot to grab the mesh, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and I got it. I ordered this off of Amazon. I think it was like $8, and it is, let's see, 12 by 40 inches of coco liner. When it came to my Philodendron patriciae, I didn't have coco liner, just handy, so I ended up taking like an old moss pole that I wasn't using anymore, and I stripped the coco coir net off of it and then just kind of roped it around like that. And so thankfully I was able to get some of this because that'll come in handy. I did want to, before we get to that part, clean off the leaves of my Philodendron Burley Marks Fantasy here. It is in a very small pot, and I had to put it inside of a larger pot, a pot within a pot, just to give it some stability, because as these things continue to get taller and taller, this one is now at 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2", around there, it starts to become a little bit more difficult to move them around, especially when you have to water them. So I take like other sticks or poles, and I end up just kind of like putting them around the back here and giving them some more stability, because, you know, out in nature, these plants wouldn't have to deal with stability and stuff like that, because they would have some nice tropical trees to climb on. The Philodendron Burley Marks Fantasy has become one of my favorite plants, and I have done a video on this plant in particular before, because I struggled with it when I first got one. This is actually my second version of this plant. I first got one about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And when I did, I didn't know how to care for it. And so the poor thing ended up dying really quickly. Philodendron Burley Marks, there are several different versions of them. You can watch my past videos on it where I do one on the regular Burley Marks, I do one on the variegated one, and this, of course, being the Burley Marks Fantasy. This is a hybrid plant, a cross between Philodendron Hederaceum and Philodendron Melanocrinizum, plants that I have versions of those as well. And I really, really love those two plants. The Melanocrinizum used to be my favorite tropical plant early on in the pandemic, around like 2020, just because I love its beautiful velvety leaves. And the Philodendron Hederaceum is just a classic. I mean, you can see I've got plenty of them over here up on my living green wall in my living room. This is the Philodendron Hederaceum Brazil. Further up, just have your standard one or your neon one as well. And they are just beautiful plants, just stunning and so easy to care for. This plant, though, being a hybrid, isn't the easiest to care for until you get to kind of know it a little bit more. You'll know that I said in the beginning of this video a short time ago that it's in a very small pot. They do not like really a lot of space. Their roots like to be root bound. The problem is though, like I'm telling you, with the stability, you saw that it almost just kind of like tipped over there, so I have to be careful with it. They like kind of like a boy. Let me explain this a little bit. So, like other aeroids, they do love a chunky aeroid soil mix. You know, your coco coir mixed in with your orchid bark, mixed in with your soil, your perlite, all that jazz. But they also like a little bit of like substrate that would hold on to moisture a little bit longer, kind of like a um, peat moss almost. So I mixed in a little bit of peat moss with all that so it can hold on to moisture a little bit. These plants do not like it when they dry out. This guy has dried out a few times, but I always try to make sure that its soil is never completely dried out. And that's why I put like a humidifier next to it as well. One, because they are native to South America, so they're used to high humidity and they like that. But also because if I do forget to water it, I don't want to deal with its problems because, like I said, when I got one in 2020, the poor thing died, I think, within like 2 months or so, just because I was caring for it like I would your normal kind of philodendron, and that was not what I was supposed to do. This is going to be an issue, guys. This is going to be an issue with me trying to wrap this coco coir mesh around this pole as I'm trying to like keep and hold on to its stability there. I've got this though. I have it under control. No, I really don't. This is going to be a mess. This is where it would be nice to have a second person to help out with these videos, but alas, I have you guys here to hold on to my mental stability ish. Okay, so I just watered it earlier, and I did put on this extension pole because it is climbing further up, and I did need more space for it. So before I did added the coco coir net to it, I wanted to make sure that it was going to have that extra pole in there too. But in doing so, I also need to, because this leaf, this part of the plant, you'll see off to the side there, is growing, and I need to pull it in closer to the pole. And the reason why you want to have the stems go closer into the pole is because the aerial roots on the stem will eventually latch onto the pole here like they would to a tree in the wild. So I'm just trying to replicate that as best as I can to ensure that this plant has a very, very healthy and exciting life. By exciting, I mean that, you know, it's just chilling out here in my living room with the rest of these plants. And they all seem to get along. This plant goes over right behind me in that area underneath that grow light. Well, at least in the back of it. You'll see some other plants over there, a Syndapsis, two Syndapsis, that are also climbers, and they have little poles. And I will eventually want to do this to them as well. I want to do this to all of my climbing plants. It's just that I need to do one at a time because this is going to be a struggle. The Patricia wasn't too bad though. I mean, when I put that together, that went together pretty easily. But then again, I also had the stability on that pole a little bit better, just simply because that plant is in a much larger pot. Its root system is larger, and the plant likes having more space than this Burley Marks Fantasy does. So that made it easier. This is going to make it more challenging, but here we are, and we're doing this, and we're going to do it. I mean, I'm going to try to do it, but whether or not it's successful is to be determined. The only thing that'll throw this off is if I don't pay attention while I'm recording this and, you know, the plant knocks over, because that would be a disaster. All right, so yeah, as I said, I got this off of Amazon, and I will put the link. Whoa! See, look at that, cat-like reflexes there. Cat-like. That's called plant-like reflexes when you're so freaked out that your plant is going to fall over, that you just jump at it. This, however, actually, maybe I'll take it out of the smaller pot, out of the larger pot and into, just keep it in its regular size pot for now. I wanted to put it in that larger pot for when I do put it back up in its position. That way it's, I don't have to worry about it knocking over. What's nice about that specific area too is that I have it like leaning up against the grow light pole, so it has some stability there. But yeah, I got this off of Amazon, I think for like, it was like $8 or $10. And I just wanted to give it a shot first because, like I said, with the Patriciae, I just basically took apart an old moss pole that I wasn't using and stripped that of its coco coir netting. And then I just put that together. But this will be nice, though, because I actually kind of wish that I hadn't done that with the other pole, because I really could use another coco coir pole for another plant that is growing a little bit. Actually, I needed it for the Philodendron Patriciae because that thing this summer had been growing like crazy. And I don't know how wide the shot's going to be, but it's basically at the top right now. And so I need to add in another pole. And maybe I should have ordered some more of this in like a thinner version, or at least more length to this, because what we're going to do is probably wrap up the front side of it, the side that I like to have show out towards the living room, which would be this side here. So we'll turn it like that, and we're going to focus on that area in particular, and we'll move those leaves there. And yeah, what's also nice about this is that it's not like it's suffocating the plant's stems or its roots by any means, because it's so breathable. It's such, mesh type material, and that makes it so much easier. I'm wondering if maybe, because last time I did it kind of like this way and wrapping it around, but maybe if I go the long way, no, I think I should do it probably step by step. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut right, I don't know, that looks like about 5 inches wide. And then, however, what did this say this was? 12 inches long. Okay, so we'll do 5 inches by 12 inches and wrap it around the pole. And this is nice too, because it being coco coir, it just matches with the pole that is already on it. And what I want to do is I have like some other poles that are green moss, which I really love. I love the look of them. I'm trying to see where's the closest one. I think the closest one's over here towards my kitchen. But yeah, like this guy here has the green moss. This one here, this is a Syngonium chiapense. Easy to care for and beautiful plant. That new leaf might be getting too close to the light though, so I'll probably have to move that. And then this Philodendron golden goddess is also on one of those green moss poles. I really like the way that those look more than the coco coir, just because it looks more natural, you know. So I'm going to order some green moss. That way I can patch up those sides around there. So I think that would look really nice, because I don't, like you said, I just don't like having the bareness of the pole showing. Like you can't really see it, and I try to hide it with the bird of paradise here with its big leaves. But this Philodendron Florida ghost here, it has one where its stems are exposed, and the green sky Philodendron over here has one. I need to wrap that one up. My Philodendron Jose Bono has one, and I have its like largest leaf peering this way, so it kind of covers it up as well. I don't know why, I don't really like the look of it exposed. It just kind of, I mean, yes, does it look natural? Of course it does, because that's how, plants are. They have their stems and so forth, but I just want it to look prettier. And also it's nice because when I do like take a spray bottle and like I spray down like the mesh it'll also, with this being a layer on top of it, kind of give that more moisture breathing type of space for the aerial roots to grow. Because once the aerial roots like latch onto the pole, they dig deep into it and they grow really long, and that provides strength because it sucks in moisture from the air outside of just watering the plant, and it makes the leaves just grow larger and larger and larger. That's why all of these leaves continue to get larger, as they go up. And why these ones up here might not look as large is because they're still growing. And I also did repot this plant at this leaf a couple months back into that pot. And so it stunted its growth a bit, but then the leaves started to pick back up, which is always a good sign and exactly what I was expecting with this plant. This plant, though, is a slow grower. A slow grower. I mean, it probably pumps out one new leaf every month and a half, if that, during the summer time I'm talking about here too. So yeah, during the winter and fall months, it grows even slower. So yeah, maybe one leaf every 2 months, if that, during the winter and fall months. And of course, we're in the fall now, so here in the United States. And so it is growing slow. But that new leaf did come out maybe, I don't know, I think it was like about, probably a week ago. This one right here is when it came out. And it's still, you can tell that it's a new leaf because it's still really soft. But then there's also a new growth point coming out. So that'll be a nice new leaf. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some twine also that I got. I think I paid like $3 for this long spindle of it. And then I'm just basically tying the mesh, coco coir mesh, around the plant pole and its stem, and not tying too tightly, just kind of like enough to hold it in because I don't want to like suffocate anything. And like I said, it is very breathable material, which makes it very easy to play with. Oh no, I didn't tie that tight enough. That's okay. I'll put another piece around it. I'm also really bad, like I need to, because what I'm doing is that I take the twine and I wrap it around, and then I don't like chop it off right away, and I need to get in a better habit of that because it just kind of like throws me off a little bit. But yeah, I'm really excited for how this is going to look, and because it's in such like an area of my living room that when you look over at it, it's like you see it right away. And I did try to position it in a way around that grow light lamp there, so you wouldn't see it as much. But I figure that this would make it a little bit better, make it nicer, nice and easy. Okay, so I have one part down, and then we're going to move on to the next part. So this is the part right here that I want to cover up next. Well, at least I think that's the second part, because I just, I use this Velcro strap to kind of hold everything in. But yeah, I really want to make sure that this is going to be fully covered. And this is indeed the angle I want to go at. So next up, we are going to cut our next piece of this. And it's actually, I'll probably go through all of this mesh coco coir netting for this entire plant, just because it has grown so tall, and it doesn't seem like I ordered enough, but at least enough for this plant. And I'm glad to know that this is also the kind that I will need for these other coco coir pole climbing plants that I need to or want to cover up to hide that bare look. But yeah, because I wasn't sure like whether or not this exact fabric, I should say fabric, but material, would be the same kind of look as the poles that I have. These poles, by the way, I've also gotten off of Amazon, and I can link to them below for you. And you can find, I mean, there's so many different versions of these poles, and they're all really cheap. I mean, I don't think I've paid more than $20 for like a 4 pack of them. So that's pretty good. You know, we can go with that. But I do want to get more of those green ones, like I was saying. In fact, since we're over here, the camera's over here closer, you can see kind of like a better look of this green here. But I got these. These were made at a local plant shop here in Denver called Reroot, and I really love the way they look. And they stay pretty moist, even if you don't wet them. So that's really nice. That's a benefit of them. But continuing on now, this is where the tricky part comes in, because you have to start, like I did with the Patriciae, you have to start kind of cutting around the stems, like where the leaves are coming out. So I might actually start doing this in smaller pieces going this way. So maybe what we'll do is cut like around there. Yeah, that'll be good. So I'm going to cut from about right here. And again, I really wish there was another person here to hold on to this, because while I'm trying to cut, I don't want to have to think that this might topple over. We're just gonna have good vibes, and that's what's gonna happen, guys. Good vibes. So I'm gonna tell myself at least. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this into 2 pieces, like so. And then I think this part should just be able to fit right around hither, like so. Yeah, excellent. That makes it so much easier. And you know what's going to be nice is that once I get, what I should probably do is just like not worry about like tying these up completely right now, and just getting kind of like maybe one piece of twine wrapped around it, and then I can come back and finish it off. That way it'll provide some stability around those poles and help keep it in place more. See, this is what I need to do, is I need to think before I start doing these kind of projects. And oftentimes I do not think, more often than not, guys. So that's just me. But if you've watched my videos, you already knew that. So there we go. Okay. Once I get this one through, we'll move on to the next one. So when I had that original Philodendron Burley Marks fantasy back in 2020-ish, I got that one I ordered it from NSE Tropicals, which is a great online rare plant seller. And they're based out of Florida. And they grow really healthy plants, and the plant arrived so beautifully. Wasn't the seller's fault at all. It was my stupidity in not knowing how to care for that plant properly. But yeah, it came with I believe it was like 2 or 3 small leaves, and then I let it die off because I wasn't a good plant parent back then, but now I am, and I'm trying harder. But this one I got from Steve's Leaves, which is another great online plant seller, and I bought several plants from Steve's Leaves, including that Syngonium chiapense that I was showing you guys earlier. And this one came with, I think, 4 big, beautiful leaves. Absolutely stunning plant. I was surprised at how big of a plant that they actually sent. I was expecting, because I think it was on sale. Like when I first got it in 2020 off of NSE Tropicals, I think the small version of the plant cost me $75 or $90. That's when these plants were considered a little bit rarer. And then this one off of Steve's Leaves I got for $30. It was on sale, and it was such a larger specimen, and absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad that I ordered off of Steve's Leaves when I did, because I got this one back in, I want to say it was last winter. So I'm almost going on a year now of owning this one. But yeah, when I got it, I'm glad that I did, because I think now on Steve's Leaves I saw them for like $50 or $60. they're definitely more expensive than when I was fortunate to get it for 30 bucks. But every so often you'll see on Steve's Leaves that they do have like a sale on this plant, and it is a very awesome plant. And I love its leaves because the foliage, when it grows in, it comes in like this pink, creamy, marbly mix of a green. And it's just, yeah, it's beautiful. And like I said, like it did take me a while to learn how to care for it. But now that I do know how to care for it, I find it to be so simple and not really a fussy plant by any means. It was just my lack of knowledge about it in the beginning that caused the demise of the original one that I had. But yeah, these plants, they do like not to be overwatered by any means, but they do like consistency with their watering. They don't like it if you're like good with watering them and then you forget to water them. That's when problems start to pop up. At least that was my problem with it. And they don't like, I've noticed that I tried with the original one to put it in bright indirect light like I would with, you know, my regular other rare kind of philodendron who love bright indirect light. This one likes a little bit lower light. It likes, I would refer to it as bright indirect / medium light. So what do I mean by that? I mean that it does like some bright indirect, but it's got to be more diffused than what your standard bright indirect would be. That's why I keep it in the corner over there, underneath that grow light. And it's not even directly underneath the grow light. It's in a corner where the grow light kind of hits it, but also doesn't hit it directly, if that makes any sense. But, you know, it took me a while to figure that out. And I highly suggest, and this rings true with any kind of plant, is to kind of just play around with the positioning of where you're going to put the plant until you find out, you know, what kind of light it likes and what's going to make it grow the best. I think that rings so true for a plant like a fiddle leaf fig. Those plants can be so finicky, and when I first got mine, it took me forever to figure out like where I should put it because of the lighting needs that it likes. And, you know, I had it in an area that I thought looked good, but the plant was like, no, I don't like this spot, and it wouldn't grow a new leaf at all. So there was that, you know. But I'm thinking, because I don't want this to drag on for too long while I'm doing this, is that maybe we should do a little time lapse. And there we go. I'm really liking the way that it looks. All I have to do is about 10 other plants, and by 10 other plants, I mean 10 million other plants polls. But this will be good for now, and I'm so glad that I ended up doing that time lapse because I got distracted. And it took me about 2 hours to do this total, but it should have taken probably no more than a half hour. But, you know, distractions get in the way. But hey, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video. Please, if you haven't already, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more fun and interesting planty content just like this. I'm going to put this baby back up in its spot, and I will see you guys in the next video.